Welcome to this webinar. Our title is How Do I Know That I Have the Right Technology and Downloads to be Ready to Administer DLM? So we're going to talk about a couple of the technical aspects of the system and making sure that you have correct browsers, correct software downloads, and those kinds of things for the DLM testing season. First off, this is a reminder. Many of you would have seen this slide and heard a discussion about this in a previous webinar. But a reminder that there are two systems that are working within DLM. So first off, I can start with the bottom one here, the Educator Portal. We've talked quite a bit about in other webinars. And the Educator Portal is really the teacher, the educator location where educators have accounts set up like you as a teacher, and that's where you manage student data. That's where demographics are put in, where the first contact survey, those kinds of things. So that's the Educator Portal, and ultimately that is going to talk with the second part of the system, which is Kite. And this Kite client is a download piece of software that you will get to your computer or device, and this is actually where the assessments will be administered. So this is for students. The Educator Portal is for educators to put their data in. Kite Client is for students to take the assessments and the testlets. So you'll have individual student login and password information to get them into Kite Client. We wanted to review the key roles of leadership for the DLM alternate assessment process in Iowa. Now, AEA, Significant Disability Coordinators, have asked that every district designate someone for each of these areas. That can look differently across districts in Iowa. Some are small, some are larger, and in some cases one person may have more than one role, so that will vary by district, but districts have been asked to provide someone in each role to support you through this process. First off is District Alternate Assessment Coordinator, and this is someone who has overall oversight of the process, kind of overseeing the process, providing support to teachers, reminding you of pending deadlines, those kinds of things. This is often a special education coordinator or a special education director that might take this role. It may also be someone who coordinates broader assessments within your district. The second role is data steward. Talked about this role quite a bit previously. This is someone who creates Educator Portal accounts for district staff, including you as a teacher, uploads student data into there, and creates rosters for you. So they get the data in the system so that you're ready to be involved in the process. Tech liaisons, you can see some of the items listed here. As needed is technology support for the teachers. When there's a need to download software, they can be assistance with that. We'll talk specifically about Kite Client in just a moment here, because that is a download that you for sure will need. And even kind of routine kinds of things like Adobe Reader. Most people have that on their computer. If they don't, a tech liaison could help you make sure you get that in place as well. And then finally, just overall tech issues, dealing with network outages, resolution problems on your computer screen, display problems, any kind of accessibility issue, keeping in mind that you're going to be interacting with the web as you're doing this testing process. So, quick review before we talk more about the tech liaison. Data steward, that role has been talked about quite a bit in a previous webinar, and again, they're enrolling you in the DLM testing portal, assigning you a teacher role. When you get into the system, you get an activation email so that you can set up your teacher portal account. The data steward also adds students into the system and creates rosters for you so that all the demographics in your first contact survey can be added in appropriate places. And all these things need to be done in the system in a timely manner early in the fall so that you're able to proceed with testing activities, because you may remember in the first webinar, how do I know that I'm ready for the testing season? It was addressed that there are certain tasks that your data steward must do to get you ready to be able to give tests to your kids. Finally, there's a verification process. There's a link to a brief video here. There's a way that you can go in to the system to make sure that all these things have been done by the data steward. And this video is linked in the Agora resources as well. So again, all of these things the data steward has been doing are going to be in the portal. Where is that portal? This is again just review reminders. dynamiclearningmaps.org, the website. If we go there, the main website, at the bottom there's always that link, Educator Portal Login, where you can get that. Now of course you're welcome to bookmark that. Any way that you can make that easier for you to get in there when you need to, that is great. But I just wanted to remind you that that link is always at the bottom of the main DLM website. So now if we turn our attention to the technical liaison, again, we already talked about some of their roles, tech issues, dealing with problems you may have with your computer. But the one thing that I wanted to highlight was installing and downloading Kite Client. Before we talk about that specifically, this is a reminder of browser needs. For things to work smoothly with Educator Portal, you would have to have a reasonably current browser. So you can see here, this is the list of supported browsers, for whether it be Firefox, Safari, Internet Explorer, or Chrome. You would want what's listed here or above. And again, if you're unsure about that, your tech liaison, talk to them about that. They can help you figure out if you're okay with that. Many of you, most of you will probably be okay if you have fairly current computers. But again, your tech liaison can help you figure that out if you're unsure. So where are we at to this point? You would have reviewed access to the portal, and hopefully be ready to begin assessments. Once that portal information is complete, you provide instruction. You have instructional plans that have been confirmed. You're now at the point where you're going to deliver a test. It's test day. You're going to work through your first testlet with your student. You are going to need Kite Client. This is the system where you're going to actually deliver the test through Kite Client. And I would remind you that both computer delivered and teacher-led testlets are delivered through Kite Client. And what are those things? You would have learned a lot about this in your required DLM training. But if you look right here, you can see just some students that are going to be able to be more independent depending on the level that they're entering in the DLM system. They'll have computer-delivered testlets that they'll navigate independently. And they may have a variety of traditional items like these you see right here. Also for teacher-led testlets, some of your students that may, for example, be at the initial precursor level, this is also delivered through Kite Client. Same thing, you're going to log in for that student, but in some cases you may get a teacher-led assessment and you would see something like this. You would get educator directions. It's going to give you instructions on how to set up the assessment event, how to interact with the student on a particular assessment activity. And then you, as a teacher, you can see just one example down here. Based on how your student responds to the assessment activity, you would code how they responded and information on their test responses. So both computer-delivered and teacher-led testlets will be through the Kite. So how do we get it? How do we make sure that we have the right system? First off, there are a variety of platforms that'll work well with Kite, and that's great. So in other words, you can use different kinds of computers, Windows, you can use Macs, you can use Chromebooks, and iPads, which is a great option for many of our students to have that portability. So in other words, you can deliver the entire test through an iPad if you wish to do that. So we have a variety of platforms, which is helpful. To actually get the download, you're seeing on screen right here, here's a link that will get us there to get the appropriate version depending on what platform you're going to use. So let's go to that link and take a look at that download center. So here we are. I've shifted back to the DLM site, and this is the direct link that it'll be in the Agora site that'll take you to this download center where you can get the most current version of Kite. And you can see some general information, some that I've already shared with you. The following browsers, what will support the portal, but what I really wanted you to see was over here on the right side where it says Kite, kind of bold there. This is Kite client downloads and instructions, and you can see depending on what device you're going to use, Windows 64 versus 32-bit, and that would be an example if you're unsure about which of those Windows downloads, if you're using Windows device, would be correct. Your tech liaison would be your person to talk to. If you need the download for a Macintosh or an iPad or a Chromebook, this is the place to go. So you can see where it says download. I could click there, and when I do that, I get a screen like this, just as most of you are going to be familiar with when you would download different things on a computer. We can run it, and that would start the download process if I needed this particular version of Kite client to start giving my tests. And it would continue on. You can see here we have kind of a installation wizard for Kite. If I clicked next here, it would continue to walk me through the process of that download. We won't do that right now, but you can kind of see the process where many of you are going to be comfortable downloading this yourself, getting it ready, but as you have questions, be sure to talk to your technical liaison. Also in here you can see that there are instructions. I'm going to drop down here. You can see where it shows View Windows Instructions. So I'm going to click on that. When I do that, I'm just going to get a mini manual with detailed instructions on this download. It looks like this. And again, this little manual could be helpful for you. If you need, some of you may need to uninstall previous versions. Make sure the newest one is on there and before you download the new one. So there's a short manual here to guide you through that process as well. Again, if in doubt, if you're not comfortable, your tech liaison would be a great person to talk with about this and help you work it through it. And a reminder too, again, iPad is available. Same idea. There's a download point here where you could download Kite onto an iPad. The instructions are here. Same kind of a mini guide available to help you through that. And so we want people to be aware of that because a tablet format may be a really good format for many of our kids. So just know that that is available for iPad specifically. Once you have that download, you should have a little shortcut on your device with an icon that you'll probably get familiar with. That looks this Kite icon. You would click on that when it's ready for test time, and you get a screen that looks something like this, where you would be logging on for your student. So logging on with that student-specific username and password here. And once you do that, you get something that looks like this, a welcome back screen. Now, a common question has been, how do I make sure I have that student's login information? A reminder here that you can locate that under the test management area of Educator Portal. So again, back in the portal, if you go into that history section, you can go to that history point there, and when you do that, that's going to enable you to get into the view instructional plan history for your students. And so what you see up on screen right here now is just this is the point where you can look through the plans that you've already put in the ITI, and notice at the top here, along with this is your demographics, your student name, student state ID, and so forth. It also will show a student login and a student password. That's the information you're going to need to log in to Kite when the time comes. So that information is there, and that login and password should be the same for other assessments, and you can keep track of that, but just know that it's going to be available on these instructional plans. One thing while we're on this screenshot I can show you right now is notice down here on this particular sample I've given you where it says status pending. The this is maybe a good point to remind you, if an instructional plan is pending, a testlet will not be sent to Kite, so it won't be available. Just an extra reminder that you have to confirm that plan. So the idea would be you put it in the system, you're planning it, you instruct. When you're absolutely sure that you're going to assess it, you would confirm it. It's that confirmation point that's going to send it to the Kite system. So that's just a reminder to make sure that that is done. And again, once you're logged in for a student, testlets that are confirmed should appear there if they've been confirmed as instructional plans in the educator portal. So you would see a screen something like this. You could look at ELA, math or science, and you would have a list of testlets that are ready to be taken, and you'd be able to click on that test for the student to take it. So thank you for watching this brief webinar. Again, our intent of this one was just to cover a few of the technical issues, and in particular the need to get that Kite download on your computer, because that's the actual piece of software that's going to let you log your students in and have them take assessments.